Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to look at a new game from Z-Man Games, One More Time Games, by Johannes Krenner and Marcus Sluishik. Anyway, the idea is this is a build your dream team, capture the flag game for 1 to 8 players. That's quite a large sample size. And without further ado, let's just get in and show you what's going on. Okay, let's take a look at what comes inside the box of challengers. You get a plastic insert, typical quality insert. You'll be able to put everything in it. It'll be righteous and awesome. Let's just stare at this insert for a couple seconds and just absorb the beauty of its blue-like nature. You also get a rule book. It's very thin. There's only 4 pages of rules, and honestly, 3 of the pages are rules, and then there's exceptions and variants and effects. You also get a gameplay example that goes over a fictitious match between Paul and Ella, and you get these trays. These trays are A, B, and C cards. A, B, and C corresponding power levels and abilities based on whether you choose, the weenie A cards, the middle B cards, or the awesome C cards. There are these mats, nice detail, high quality mats that you will place. This is an 8-player game. That's right, 8 players. Every player has a station, and that is where they will be doing their work. Now, you also get special points. During the course of the game, you'll get points, but you'll also get trophies as you are capturing the flag. Everyone's going to have their little lanes. You've got 4 lanes, and that's what you're going to do. You're going to fight over it. Everyone has a starter deck of cards, and then you're going to be boosting, augmenting, building, shuffling, adding, removing cards from your deck as you place and play 7 different rounds plus the championship round. All right, that's it. That's all that comes in it, so let's get right to an example of play. Okay, how do we play challengers? Well, here's how it works. You're going to play simultaneously 4-on-4, and you're going to go around and you're going to play round-robin style. You literally are going to pick up and move after each round most of the time. To take on different opponents 7 times, 7 matches. These games do not take a lot of time to play individually. Added up, maybe 30 minutes, maybe, before you get to the championship round. There's the token, which is the flag, and then there's the, as you win, you're going to get the trophy for winning or not. And then at each round, you're going to get the trophy that corresponds to that round. And you'll get some, they all have different point values. You keep that hidden because at the end of the game, how you win is after all those rounds, and you're going to count up the amount of victory points that you earn. When that's done, you will play one final championship round against the other players. There are some variations in solo and 2-player rules, of course. Also, if you're playing with an odd number of players, there will be times when you will be playing against an AI robot deck. So keep that in mind, that equal players, even number of players is probably optimal for the best experience, in my opinion, but that's getting into my review. Now, we're not going to play 8 different hands simultaneously. I'm just going to show you how it works. What I show you in this lane is going to be identical to what everyone else is going to go through, all 6 other players. During the game, you're going to do 2 phases each round. Everyone gets a card. The card gives them information about what they're going to do. This is your card. You're keeping it. Based on the number of players, there'll be a different number of cards and different sides. So if I was playing a 5 or 6 player game, this would be how I would go. You'll notice that the 4 color-coded sides of these lanes matched the 4 colors and icons here. Now we're going to start here. Round 1 is here at the acorn, the yellow acorn. Notice that my opponent also has the yellow acorn. Not only that, but he's going to be here for 2 rounds in a row. So he's not going to have to move after this round the way I am. All right, so on your turn, you do a draw phase, both players, and then you do an actual playthrough of the game. Let's go through the draw phase. On the draw phase, you look and see what your card for that round tells you to do. You can choose to procure up to 2 A cards. Again, A cards are the least powerful ones per se, but it does vary, A, B, and C. And you notice that as you go over in time, as you go on farther and farther, you're going to get an opportunity to get C cards, B cards, etc. This says, for example, this round says you can get, on this round 3, I'm going to either get to choose 2 A cards, or I can choose 1 B card from the B deck. In this case, we're going to go ahead and start and go, okay, draw 5 cards. I'm going to draw 5, and You know, there's a lot of cards here. I mean, there's a lot. Let's take a look. I mean, just look at some of these cards. There's Lifeguard. Each of these has a different way of life. Mass Navigator, comic character, necromancer, cowboy, etc. So they all have different things that they do. So then, on the C cards, the same way, you're going to get like, oh wait, that's an A card. Hey, who put their A card in my... Don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. Illusionist. And they're a lot more powerful. What the heck? Anyway, I'm going to rework that in a second. But the C cards are... Ooh, Submarine. Submarine is awesome. You'll see that it's got a very powerful... And this is a large number. But you have to put the bottommost card of your deck on your exhaust path. So it costs you a card, but you get a special ability out of it. So anyway, we will... put those back into these handy trays. And again, this is the discard area, this is the regular area. So anyway, we're going to draw 5 cards, and we're going to say, are any of these interesting? Everybody starts off with the same 7 cards. These don't do anything. Really, they don't have any particular... They have various powers between 1 and 6. This is the only one that actually has an ability that gives you... Okay, I don't know how that got mixed up in there, but anyway, so there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're cooking with gas. But yeah, you start off with your core hand here, and again, nothing noteworthy. It's all everyone starts off the same. Everyone's on even keel, and then you look and go, are any of these cards of interest to me? Because I can take 2 of them, and notice that their power might not be that much greater, but they do have some different things. This, for example, is a parrot card. It might have some synergies with other cards of the same type. There are 6 different types of card decks, and you're going to mix 5 of the 6 in order to be able to get a nice variety of different effects. But there are synergies. Think Smash Up. So, are there any of these that work together? No. In flag possession. Ooh, treasure. Treasure's good. It means that if I have the flag, this card is worth 2 extra. I like it. We're going to keep that one. Now, we could choose a second one, or we could go, nope, forget it. I want to try again. You can always do... Once per draw phase, you can always go, forget it, refresh, give me 5 cards. This is a good thing to be able to see a lot more of the cards. And there are a lot of cards. This is no... The card stock themselves is absolutely abysmal, but the card variety is absolutely top-notch. Go figure. Okay, and then look at... Who shuffled these? All right, so then we got the juggler, the clown, the vendor, the makeup artist. And this one's cool. From the bench, my cards... with base power 1, get an extra 2 when I'm attacking. Very situational, but kind of cool. So there we go, we're done. And my opponent, meantime, is going to be doing the same thing and working up their way to get their cards. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so we're going to say, oh, look at me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Starter. All right, so same thing. Let's say, for example, that they just quickly went through and found these cards. There we go. 2 jugglers, yes. They're going to go for the juggler. All right, so then they're going to shuffle their cards, shuffle them well, and place them. One other thing you can do, and this is a pretty innovative thing, you can also choose to get rid of any cards you want in your deck. You can deck thin every single round. Why is this important? Because, well, it is. We'll show you in a little bit. But if I was to say, you know what, I'm going to get rid of these 2, then, out they go, out of the game. Why would that? That's good and bad, because if you run out of cards, you'll lose a match. But at the same time, if you have too many weak cards, you might lose a lot more than that. So we're going to do this. All right, so we shuffle it up, and then we begin. Now at the start, whoever has the highest trophy level is going to start in possession of the flag. Since it's the start of the game, we flip it, and we say, okay. So this side here is going to start, and this side, the opponent, will go next. So first thing we do is flip a card and go, cool, all right. I have 2 talent. I'm in possession of the flag. Too much talent. My opponent is going to start flipping cards until they get equal to or better than that score. Oh, looks like the dog beats talent, so yay, grab the flag, and I have to place my card here on the bench. Now I've got to beat this, so I go... 3, equal or better, take that dog, and then we go back and forth. That's really the essence of the game. Well, we don't have, 1 is not better than 3, so we have to draw another card. 2, so there's 2, and 3. All right, so 3 equals dog there, and we get to go here. All right, now we have now we have to do the same thing. 4 beats 3, and this is the thing where all of the newcomers have to go, and they can all stack in their own slot, but you don't want these slots to fill up. If these slots fill up and you have to add another card, you lose. Too many guys are on the bench. Now we start here. 2, 6. All right, 6. So now we've taken over, and now we're at 6, and this champion goes here. Yep, okay, ready? Can we beat this? 2, in flag possession, doggone it. I don't, it doesn't apply. 3, from the bench, your cards with base power, from the bench. And 4. Yes! Ha ha ha. Ooh, alright. Yay, so then talent. Yeah, alright, so now it's up to my 2. Dang it. And now, look. 1, 2, 3. All of these are different, which means that I'm out of I'm out of cards. So, I can't do it. So, obviously my opponent won. Jugular, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, return them in any order. Anyway, you see what's going on. So, this flag has been won. Congratulations, opponent. And that's it. And then you're done. You're like, okay, I did my part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can see why it's important maybe not to thin your deck, but at the same time, you don't want to have weak cards that are trying to hold on to the flag. So, there we go. And then we reset. Everyone gets their cards back at the end of the match. Victory point for my opponent. And then we look and go, okay, when everyone's done, then I decide, where do I go next? Well, I'm going to go over to green, so I'm going to take my cards. I'm going to take whatever trophies I have. I'm going to take this card, and I'm going to hook over here. Everyone's going to shift around. And you're going to do this 7 times. At the end, you're going to count up your trophies. Again, your trophies have victory point costs on the back, or accruals on the back, and then sometimes you're just going to get, during the course of play, you're going to get victory points just because you rocked it. And again, as you're going on, you're going to be getting the whole essence of the game is really the deck building part. Once you're playing it, it's kind of automatic. It's sort of like those video games like Might and Magic Battle Chess or whatever, where your job is to create the best army, and then it's up to that army to just kind of do its best job. So that's it, really. That's Challengers. Now let's get into my final thoughts on this baby. Okay, final thoughts on Challengers from Z-Man Games. As always, we go over the cons first, then we go over the pros, followed by the conclusion of what I think. As for the cons, I would have to say there's a couple things to note. The one biggest demerit against this is that it is absolutely abominable card stock. The cards are just, they're not very good. They're not very good in their quality, the actual physical card quality. I don't think I've seen games as bad ever that from any reputable published. I've seen warped boards, double matted boards, but these cards, they practically jumped out at me once the cellophane was off to bend and warp. Like a Christmas tree that you bring home from the Christmas tree farm, and you undo the things and it just flies out in rage. That's what's happening here. So I was very disappointed in that particular aspect. I'm sure I could iron them or whatever, probably sleeve them, but there's hundreds and hundreds of cards, and I'm not sure this game necessarily is something I'm going to be getting to the table all too frequently. But anyway, yeah, that was a big downer for me. The odd player count bot, where if you're playing with an odd count, you have to use a bot. I get it. I understand. That's what keeps it from being like a 2, 4, 6, 8 player game. And I get that, but it's not entirely satisfying to me, and that's why it makes solo play. Similarly, there's not much incentive for me to play it other than trying it out to see if it works. I would pick some other game solo than this one, or 2-player or 3-player. I'd probably cap it at 4 players, because anything below it and you're Nah. Anything like 2 players, you might as well play Battle Line. That's a great game. You could play Roma or Arena, Roma 2, Splendor. I mean, you could play all kinds of stuff. 2 players, it's a lot more satisfying. This really is at the sweet spot, at least for probably 6 to 8. I think is the optimal count to really get what it's trying to do in the capture the flag kind of style, where you got all 4 rows, you got a lot of moving and shifting and going at it and building yourself up to the championship round, etc. And you are going to have a very understanding audience about the chair hopping, because when you get your card and you're like, okay, I need to go over here, I need to go over here, we need to trade spots, I need to grab all my stuff and walk over and do that. Not everyone's going to want to do that. In fact, a lot of people, when they nestle in for a board game, even at at a convention or at a game place or whatever, they're kind of sitting down. They got their drink, they got their situation, they're kind of like, okay, I'm settled in, I've got some time, woohoo, entertain me. And that's not, the moving around thing I mean, honestly, it's no big deal from description, but there are certain people that were like, I'm not doing that. That's just not going to work for me. That's just silly. And so, on the other hand, if you get a wacky audience, and this is kind of built for that kind of vibe, then you're not going to have a problem with it. Just understand there are some people that really don't want to be dislodged to move around for a game without a really compelling reason. And honestly, there were other people when I was playing this with groups that were just kind of off-put by the fact that you don't really play the game. The whole element, the part of it that's really the actual gameplay is the drafting. It's the pre-building. It's that portion of fantasy football league, for example. I mean, for some of us, 90% of the fun is the pick your player party. That's where you get it, and then you dream of all the possibilities, whatever. After that, you're having some control over who you play each week, but it's really out of your hands. And yet it's popular. But honestly, the part that I think people get the most excited about is the go pick your characters, drafting. And that's the kind of vibe they're going for here, because once you're playing the game, you have input, but it's pretty random. Like you know what your deck's constructed of, but you have marginal control over the order that things happen or whatever. It's just, how well did my group do? Let's see what happens. And that way, it's a lot like the computer game equivalent of like an auto battler kind of situation. So if that sounds off-putting for you, this is probably not going to change your mind. And the other thing is there's 6 individual decks with different themes, similar to where Smash Up has the different stuff, and then you use 5 of them. And to me, it's like, why bother? I'm sure there's going to be new add-ons or whatever. I fully expect there to be, because this game is fully situated to be able to do that. But I just felt like set up grab 5, shuffle them all in there, and then divide them out at the end and stuff. I don't like any game that has too high of a setup for the payoff of the play. And in this case, I just basically, for the most part, I just kept the space deck out and I just played with the rest of them, because honestly, the people who this audience is for were fine with the level of complexity that the 5 decks offered without adding the space deck. Your mileage may vary. That's it. That's about the cons. Now let's get into the pros. This is still, despite all things, a clever take for a group of a particular type of building and drafting, similar to kind of like a Millennium Blades kind of thing, or again, like the fantasy, pick your team, throw them at there, sort of like, build your best robot, see how it does on its own kind of thing. And it threads that needle between bunko level stupid, which, as you all know, I hate bunko, and CCG card drafting of utter complexity. Somewhere in the middle, they pulled off being able to give you just enough complexity on the cards, but not enough where the casual audience that doesn't mind moving around in chairs or frolicking at the level of like throw cards out and see what happens, aren't going to be overwhelmed by having to figure out the drafting part. I think the drafting part was just the right level of interesting decision making, because I'm okay with auto battler type stuff. I kind of, where you're like, hey, I'm going to build the best I can and then throw it out, see what happens. You win some, you lose some. The games are short. You're not asking for 40 minutes per match, whatever, and you're doing it real quickly. And you're like, okay, go to the next one. Okay, draft 10 cards, or up to 10 cards, and figure to see what to do. The other components that aren't the cards, that are chintzy and flimsy and bend and warp, are actually really solid. The rubber mat lanes, very nice. You just You know, roll out the red carpet and the yellow carpet and the blue carpet. And the flag chits are nice and thick. You know, the trophy tokens are nice. The containers, I like the containers. I like the idea of having a container to pick out of. I would almost look for, I wish there were a couple more when you have 8 players to make it more interesting. The card selection itself is huge. You have different decks, and you're going to extract the theme of that deck. The mechanics and the theme fit. They fit well. You know, you've got your big, thick, you know, theme packs and whatever. They're all shuffled in. You'll get a few. There are synergies to consider and go about trying to, you know, do the best you can. Going, okay, if this works out right, things will go well. I like that. I think it's very novel, and I think they pull it off really well for what they were trying to do. There's that 3-step power curve where you get more cards if they're, you know, A level, but then you get some of the B level, and then you got the C level cards, all of which kind of imbue together this idea that you can have some license to how you build your deck, and then before unleashing it and hoping for the best. So the round change with the drafting leaves a lot of ways to grab a lot of cards, and I like that. I like the fact that you've got your little card, and honestly, once you learn the card, you're like, okay, I go to yellow, and I can choose 2 A's or 1 B. It's all there. You don't have to consult the manual or whatever. It's like everyone gets everything they need to play. You got your card. You got your, you know, hold your tokens. You got your deck. You got your side, you know, your team on the side, which is great because you got, you know, cards that will help you when you're there, you know, in the fight. The cards that will help you from the bench, you know, the discard. There's a lot of, there's some subtle complexities here that really kind of meld together well. I found it to be very impressive. And the fact that you get up to, you know, you get your 5 cards, and then you could choose those or pick another 5. You're going to be able to see a lot of more of the deck than if you just had a static draw 5 and do your best with it. You have at least some room to be able to grab cards and look through as many as possible. I think it's satisfying the level that they did it. I mean, yes, you might not see everything, especially in a shorter, like a smaller player count game. You're not going to see all the cards, but I think they give you enough of the cards that at least you'll feel like you had some input. And again, the auto battler might be off-putting for some, but I'm like, that's a clever take. I could see that going on a lot more. I wouldn't want to do it in a game that took hours and hours, but this game, your playtime, your actual sessions with each player are going to be very short. You've got a few cards, you're going to go at it pretty quickly, you're done. It's almost like speed dating, you know, except you never score. So then you just go on and do that 8 times or 7 times, and then you got your tournament round, which is kind of cool. Everyone cheers on. Again, it doesn't take that much time, and so you can pull it off and feel good. So in conclusion, this game, everything within me, when I first played this game, and you know, the first game and the second plane, everything within me, everything in my being, everything in my fiber of my soul wanted to rate this sucker a 3, because it seemed just blah, you know, crappy cards, really simple play, not a lot of choices. Really, the first hit was not pleasant. It was like, this seems like it's not going to go anywhere. But then, you know, because by its description and the quirks that were around it, it should be, you know, garbage dwelling diva time for it. But it's like when you see a meme or a GIF, or someone sends you a video of something really weird on the internet, and you know, you watch it the first time and you just stare at it and you go, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I'm gonna watch it 10 times, and then your friend's gonna beckon your friend over, and they're gonna come over and be like, watch this, and you're like, wow, that's weird. Play it again. You know, that's kind of the feel. Like, why do I like this? Why am I mesmerized by this? Why is this the equivalent of a catchy song you don't want to admit you like? Something about it is, for the audience, in the right context, very entertaining. Like, it just is. It's like, again, you have to have the right audience willing to do some wacky things out of their comfort zone. But you have the drafting. It appears interesting. I like the artwork. I like the way that it exudes this kind of sort of silliness. The different cards have a different kind of style and theme, and they wax and wane together in different synergies. But it's all kind of this fun, wacky, capture the flag kind of thing. And so I'm honestly going to have to give it a solid 7. Yeah, because it's like a lot of fun, 8 level fun, and then there's 3 to 5 level. This should not work the way it does, um, because you again, it's a game that I love with the right group. I would hate it in other contexts, dealing with other people, having to deal with their griping and groaning about it. So if you've got the crowd where this sounds like it's a lot of fun, and you've got 4 or 5, at least 4, hopefully 5 or 6 people that want to make a nice little championship and hype it up, this is a good game. Otherwise, this is probably something you should watch a few other videos, or at least kind of evaluate carefully before you take the plunge. But for me, I'm going to keep it around. It won't come out too often, but in that context, and I'm like, I know these guys. They're fun-loving guys and gals, and welcoming people. I would try this on them. So don't even know if that helps you, but either way, that's how I feel about challengers from Z-Man Games. And with that, we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.